Okay. The last one. This is the overall structure of what is an application service elements. These whole things are called as an application service element. You cannot say this is whatever you have seen earlier is based on the OSS structure. What they are having is as a structure. This whole thing where you are seeing so many protocols in this one, or the standards, you can call it up there. SMAAC, CMIAC, then ROS and ACAC. Everything is comes under the service elements one. So what are the service elements? Why they have been clubbed? How they have been clubbed together, so that we can able to visualize the whole thing in a simple network management side. These application service elements, which they are call it up, all the combination of all the things is going to be run across to do the work for the on behalf of the network management. So they have a coordination function and communication function. The both function has to be run by these things. This coordination function, if you start with the coordination function before the application has been sent any information, the communication has to be established. So that needs some service elements. Though we use it up as a SMAS is ACS is going to be an association one which establish a communication. Remaining is going to be work across on the coordination function or sending and everything. Whatever we have seen, the kernel is going to be, we have seen the kernel as a communication, as a combination of or together of the services for the CMIC. So each SMAC and ROS and ACAC, everyone carries their own kernels also. The service will be available for that one within the framework here. This application, why we are very much specific about all the thing is this base protocol is not only specified for ROS, CMIC application, network application side. Suppose if we say the AAC has been have an association protocol which says how they have to establish an association between two entities, which is where this entity is going to be a remote or anything. So when they try to establish on one, if you log that application of CMIC, or I can call it up as a management application, managing network management application on that protocol or the association services provided by the application layer, then it says when after you complete that association, then only you can release it at that one. So this association establishment is not only specific for the applications of the management, network management. It can be applicable to file transfer or other mail transfer, or I can call it up that multimedia transfer, any voice transfer, anything you call it up. These associations can be expanded, or they can be created 2 or 3 associations for individual application. So individual application in system could be a one system, but the application could be many on the system itself. So depending upon the technology, depending upon the application running it up, they establish the association between one another. So this establishment cannot be stuck with the, I am only, this ACS is only associated with the, not only associated with the network management side, it is also associated with some other application which comes across. So we are this CMIC structure or framework you have created for the network management as utilizing the service underneath services provided by the application layer on this one. The ROS is also one of the thing. If you need a ROS to establish a communication, request and response has been sent by using the ROS because it's a remote service accessing application. So these elements can be utilized by them. They are utilizing. ROS has been utilized by the management service. It can also be established and it can also be utilized by some other application. That is possible. So you are locking one application with the one underneath association is not going to be a good thing. But if you are running only one single application as a network management, that is not a matter about this. So remember a thing. CMISC, which you have put it across as a thing, is going to be the common management information service element, which is also the combination of all the things which comes across whatever I have mentioned in this one. It is a CMIC, you can call it up as the simple of framework, you can call it up, or the services provided by the network management. How these can be established or communicated to the other entity is going to be managed by the ROS is going to be that. Then the same thing is SMAS is going to be given what are the basic necessary services you can allow it of that. Then association has to be created before the confirmation comes across. So the association service is ACAC. So all the combination of all the things works together for the benefit of doing an application called network management. So network management is an application protocol. I can say application services which we are using it. For that we need all these underneath protocol which can be supplied by the application layer. So it says it is in the OSI layer. That is a model is based on the OSI model. It's not based on the your internet suite which is running across it. So when it comes to the internet suite, they have given some extra protocol one that can help the SNMP is run as a network management protocol. As a protocol, they run it up there. That's the simple logic. We are not having these type of setup. This can be implemented on this one. Why I'm saying is this thing is some implementation problem will come across between two entities. One entity run on an open system, another one entity run on the different type of layer system. So if I want to have a network communication between two entities, the implementation should be, even though the basic services of CMSA provided is the same, but the implementation can be a different both the sides. So establishing a remote connection or association connection can be a different one, need not be the same one applicable in this one. So depending upon the implementation, we can establish the communication, and it can happen between the OSI suite as well as the internet suite also. That can be happened between these things. One entity can run on the SNMP based one, another entity can run on OSI ISO model. So in that thing, how the communication comes across, the protocol has to have do some work on it up and run it up there. So that is why application service elements carries all those things, but it is not very much unique or particularly for that application alone. You cannot put it up. This CMSE is going to be the framework of the reference model. You can call it up that the OSI has given some framework for these services. Request or how the request should be placed it up, and what are the request types should be there, how should you interpret all those requests and responses. These elements are used by the CMSC, and they can be that services can be provided by the SMAS. Then the association will be provided by ACAC. Then the associate remote communication request and response based thing will be provided by those. So all those things combination can work on the network management, right? But CMS is a base framework which says how I can interpret for OSI model. It is not suitable for internet suite. But if I say the internet suite runs or some other model has been, the network model has been, telecommunication network model will come across, the ROS and ACs can support that model. It is possible that, right? So what we are seeing is a combination of all those things. Any connection association comes across, ACSC can work on this one. They are having a association request. Our kernel is a combination of association request and confirmation, release request and confirmation, abort request and indication, abort indication, AP indication. So these are completely combined. These services are called as in kernel because kernel cannot be negotiable. So the services provided by the ACS is all the services. Then authentication, normally you come across and put across and say this is a common source. Now it's an application service element is CMS's application service element structured offered by the request and reply framework. This way I am going to work it up. How the structure will be there, where it's run it up, how I can interpret this. These things are structured. Then ASN.1 is going to be the data language, how you are going to run it up there. So these terms should be interpreted in a proper way so that you can able to understand how it has been go across it. The CMSC groups everything into a function unit. So the function unit will say how the structure will be happening in the request and reply. Then they send it up the structure. The structure will be based on this one. But association is always established by ACAC, not for the network management. It can be for any other application. Then what is the role of ROS? ROS is going to be the remote establishing communication. If it is a remote entity, because everything is a remote entity, because we are not already establishing communication. If it is a connection oriented one, then the ACS definitely establish a connection, then only as a confirmation you need to do the work. So these rows will have a request and reply structure. That structure will be offered by the rows, right? Then the CMSC is going to be utilize the ACS services of framing the internal structure, how it could be requested, could be placed, and what are the placeholders I can put across in my data unit. Everything will be placed on this one. So these are all the things of combination of one and another, and we'll see small things of how it will be in a structured way. So this is the association control service unit, establish release association between the application entities. Entities, remember a thing, it is not only for, I can use a file transfer protocol also, or file transfer application services also on the association. You call it up as an association in a sense, you are making a connection. This say connection oriented one. It is not running on the connectionless one. Connectionless never try to establish a communication before it sends a packet there. It just throw the packet to the lower level layer, ask them to send it up according to your whim and wishes. So it goes across that. Before any management operation can be performed using the SIM, it's necessary two applications should establish a connection there. So it's a manager can initiate or the both can initiate. That is the thing. You cannot always association connecting the association. That is a possibility. Suppose I am picking my phone and having a saying a hello, or dialing a number and saying hello means I am establishing an association. It could be a management entity or managing entity. Both the things can be associated. Who will release the connection? That will be a question. If suppose this association has been connected with the manage object, he has to release the connection there. If suppose it's the entity, he can. Suppose both can take control of the releasing the association, because association has to be established and released. Remember a thing, you have to put off the phone if you want to unconnect them, or you want to end the connection. So there is establishing a connection, releasing the connection. Two things has to be run. Unless you release it up, the resources will be locked according to that. Remember a thing, always it's like in the OS, you have to establish a connection, you have to make it a user and release it up. Another one we can go across in the system. We will see it in the later. This as a manager and agent exchange in title, entity title for the purpose of identification, application context, establish the context. It doesn't know what they are going to pass it up, how they are going to pass it up. It never bother about all the things. Only thing is I am just able to have a communication. The application context defines what services provided, right? That is the thing. Because I can establish association using a ACAC and run and file transfer on that one. So it is very much application specific. Our application context will always there. What base application you are running it up. If I say I am running an application context in the sense I am running it for the network management, definitely rows and CMS is going to be involved in this one. If I say FTP, then it's going to be the FTMP is going to be on another protocol which has been established in this one. So there is an association is common one. We are replacing that one for this application specific purpose. That is why as a release and request confirmation, abort request will establish. ACS is not used again until the association released. Remember, I think association should be released. The cases are different. Whoever establishes the connection, they can release it up. Or some cases is another case is one. Anybody can release it up. So there is a definitely somebody has to release it up. Unless you release it up, the resources will be locked. You cannot able to work on the releases in this one. Now we are having it up remote operation service. This is another one operation element. It's equal to the remote procedure call. If you know what is a remote procedure call, you come to know how the remote is going to work on this one, how they can able to establish a connection with the remote entity. Then allows the invocation of the operation performed on the remote system. That is the one thing they have called it up there. The remote operation protocol contains an invoke identifier or correlating request, response, and operation code and augmented field parameters to specify in the operation. We'll see in the next one what are these things that goes in there. Can only be invoked once an application association has been established. Remember a thing, only be invoked once an application association has been established. So I can able to CMAC has been worked across, ACAC has been worked across and establishment has been happened, then only those will work on this one. Unless you have a connection, you cannot work on it. Those never bother about all those things, right? CMIP uses a transaction-oriented services provided by the host for all. It's like a carrier, you can call it up that way. It's like a truck or a van which carry the item. It never bothers about what the items it has been put inside. The road has been established by the ACM, you can call it up. The roads is the one carries all those information based on what it has been carrying inside, how it has been placed, who is driving the car. Everything is decided by other structure of the CMIC and other remaining one. So that is one of the things. Unless the road is there, roads never rises to run across. The van never travel on the road, right? The CMIP uses the error response facilities provided by the roads. That is a one service. It can be accessed by the CMIP. CMIP is they are establishing the protocol says how you can work on this one, how the road and how you should run it up on the road itself. One side or the double side, everything will be there. So depending upon that one, it will say how you have to travel it up. So that protocol utilizes. CMIP also uses the error response facilities provided by the road. That one small service it is accessed from the roads itself. If it is, that is a protocol has been allowed to access something. If it is not, then if some other protocol never allows us roads to interfere with this thing, or it never utilizes the error services available from this one, it can. Why the error services has been put across in this? Because roads is the one who is going to carry all those things. Some errors based on these establishing this response and request comes across, definitely roads can respond to the error and say this error has been raised it up. That can be replaced by the application which runs on the rows itself. Now we are having these things. Before I go across, I want to know, suppose there is one request and so many responses comes across, rows can create a child processor. The same request has been replicated in the child processor using the invoke ID as a parent processor. That is one way we can say it up there, how the establishment can happen. I want 2 or more vans to be sent across. I put up an ID for that invoke parent ID for the invoke ID, and child process will do the response on this one. Here, these are the reject a request or a response comes in this one. This is the invoke ID, invoke operation. It's an invoking operation. This is a link ID. If I have multiple responses comes across, I can put the link ID and say this is the way I put up. Operation value is a value which has been left over with the CMIC. It never bothered about what is an operation value. It just says if these operation values are available with you, or if it is going to be understood by the semantics should be understood by the CMIC. If Rose is not going to very much work on the semantics, which is the operation value, then the arguments, what are the arguments, you can add it up there. Whichever arguments, how many arguments put across depends upon how many spaces available that one. Invoke ID. Then this is an successful response is this operation value, so that you come to know what which one carries the responses and results here. Then successful response. Error, if it say error value will be put across, error parameters will be put across here. This is an invoke ID. Then any reject a request and response problem, invoke a problem, return results problem, return error problem. Any problem you put across, rejecting a request. That is one thing we never bother about to say, because sometimes it will be rejected because that is not the proper establishment without the establishing connection, or it is not the proper data packet which comes across in this one. All those things comes in the way they say you can reject a request. That is like you are applying for some job or applying for something. Sometimes they say reject because you are not conformed to the details which has been asked by them, or you haven't met the condition provided by the application. Like that way, rejection will happen due to any of those contexts here. So these things will be pertaining to the error condition or pertaining to the conformance conditions applied by this application or anything. The same thing is applicable to any application we run it across here. If you are sending a biodata for the job, if they reject it up, there is a reason for rejection. There is a reason for error, right? Error is not a rejection, need not be any. Sometimes that the application and the company can rectify the error, ask you to fill it up. If you haven't filled your phone number, then that is an error. They can ask you phone you, or they can send you a mail and ask you to fill it up the phone number. That is an error, but that is not a reason for rejecting your application. But the rejection can happen. Suppose they need a PG people, you are only completed B, they can do the outrightly reject it because their minimum qualification should be a PG one. So there will be a different happening error and then rejection there. So the rejection has been based on that one. Your contact with that application can reject, can apply for that. The reason can be entered and say this is the rejection reason. You have send it out across this one. So here the example of the problem values, where we have seen in the problem values is going to be operation value is going to be the problem has been different problem values you can put across in this one. Invoke a problem. There's a duplication invocation. You know that invocation can be duplicated or it can reply in the later manner. So you cannot able to. There is a two connection you can establish in this file. Always it's a connection oriented, not a connection less, because association services are already establishing a connection. Another connection you can have, and mode is going to be one thing. Mode is a synchronous mode or asynchronous mode. When you say it's a synchronous mode, you are very synchronous with the receiver and the sender. I can say manager and the agent. So how they are synchronous? The time synchronization would happen in this one. You learn it up in the protocol in the network side. How the synchronization would happen, that is little bit tedious one, establishing a synchronization. Suppose because always the time period is the invoker side and the performance side should be synchronized. Once you send the request, you never bother about any of the, you will wait for the next result be established because you are synchronizing with the performer. So performer will send back the response in this one. It is you cannot able to establish a send another request to anybody because you cannot able to retrieve the information. They are synchronized in a manner, they both running in the same time, so that this person and this person can send a request and respond. So what a time one request has been placed it up, you can expect a many response from that single response from the respondent. It is possible, but you have to wait until you receive the response. So to create another request there. But when it's in asynchronous mode, if you are in the asynchronous mode, it is like sending a mail in a Google Mail or Yahoo Mail, whichever mail you come across. You can you can create so many parallel mails and you send it up across. You never bother about the response does not get confused with the request you placed across. You need not to wait for the response to come across to send another request there. So they are in the asynchronous mode. But in a synchronous way is like they're making a call. You have to pick it up and dial the number and wait for the another one to be established. When you are having a communication between one another, the same call can be utilized for conference call, but another call you cannot, away from that call, you can put it up in a hold and go for another thing. So that is a possibility. Otherwise, you cannot make an establishment. But mail is not like that. You need not to worry about the call, whether the reply has been sent from there. You can parallelly send so many mail using so many applications in this one. So that way, asynchronous mode also always send the request periodically. Does not wait for any of the requests from the on another side. But the synchronous mode is always wait and complete the communication, complete the establishment mode. Then you go for the next request in this one. So there is a timestamp will be involved when you go the synchronous side. Both sides has to be synchronized with sync with one another. The time period, then the establishment has to happen. But asynchronous never bother about all these things. Anytime, anywhere, you can send it up and they never bother. But one disadvantage is if you go for asynchronous mode is you don't know whether the reply has come across. You have to check it up and go through all this. Here it is a very systematic one. Once request place, reply come, request place, reply come. That is need not be any confusion happens in this one. So you will learn it up in a network how the timestamp will be put across, how the synchronizing ATM, I think most of the ATM will have a synchronized mode, asynchronous modes available for them. Not in a bank ATM, right? Then here it's a unrecognized operation. Some operation value are not valid to the application using rows. Remember a thing, some application are not valid using the rows application. ROS is a protocol which is establishing, it's a remote establishing protocol, but it also has some application which cannot be run on the ROS, right? Not one of the values assigned by specification for that application. We are not speaking about telecommunication here or network management, we are speaking about application there, right? Resource limitation. Suppose if the FTP file transfer is not allowed by the ROS, then application says that's an application here. Resource limitation, there are no resources available to perform the requested operation. That is a simple logic. Then return result problem, unrecognized invocation. Result is being written with an invoke ID. So that does not correspond to an operation in progress. The invoke ID does not correspond to any outstanding operation request. That is recognized invocation. Written response unexpected. No response is defined for the operation in questions. That is a simple idiotic thing because they never bother about response. Therefore, invalid for that. They can reject it up, saying this is not a valid one. So, return error problem is some unrecognized error, unexpected error. Unrecognized value is not recognized by the context of the application using rows, right? Because it's like a rows is not familiar with this application, they are not meant for that application, then this is a error can be created. Unexpected error value is not valid for the invoke operation. That is, the error is not confined to the invoke operation. Maybe it could be later defined by the application, but it is not earlier they have in defined. So it's an unexpected error. Communication error also calls an unexpected error. This is a simp which says that it's going to be the established after these rows has been. That is why I have given the rows and everything is based on these things. This is a CMIC. Simp is a complete combination of establishing a protocol based activities. It says it can have an invocation ID, what type of operation you are running it up, what is a manager or base object class. After all those things happen, your simp is going to be sit across, because simp is more or less associated with the CMIC, right? It's an application oriented, that particular application oriented protocol. So rows and ACS is not that much particular application oriented protocol. Any application which is very comfortable with the rows and ACS can work on it. That application. What we are seeing as an application is that network management application. So that application can sit well on ACS and rows. Here the CMS is very much particular about establishing or framing a structure for that one. That is going to be a establishment protocol is going to be for particularly network management. So it is very clear what is your base object, what is your base object instance, what is an operation specific information you are going to establish in this one. So CMIC and CMIP is very much particular for network management application. So unless they both are available, you cannot able to establish in the OSA SOA model. I am not speaking about the internet suite here. This is name of the service, the operation value they have given in this one. They particularly, you come to know what is the operation value or what is the specific information you put across on this one. What is the operation and how you will put it up there. What are the relevant information? If it's an event operation, what are the event and how much is a notification you can give it up, how much the alarm is severe, it is alarm, what type of information, what all those information can be, it carried out on this CMIP. This protocol will carry out all the information. The structure has been defined by CMIC, the language has been ASN.1. This is a protocol which carry all those operation on this one. So these three are very, very close with the particular of the network management. But remaining every protocols comes across is trying to make it up run on the application layer. That is a way you can put across application layer to one another opposite remote entity. Now we are given, this is a comparison. I don't know because this comparison is between SNMP which run on internet side, OSA management side, simp is going to run. Then this is very much object oriented. This is an object based one. It is not an object oriented concept. You come to know object oriented. It's like a difference between C++ and C, like most of the time, right? C never carries any of the pointers, or it never carries any object classes or anything. Associated classes, services never given in the C. Here it is like that only. It's a very object based one. This is an object oriented based one. That's a difference. Then it's a language is a GDMO, SNMP, SMI. Then here is a management entity interaction as a manager, agent, manager, and manager can be the same thing applicable. You can call it up otherwise managed system or managing system. That both the things comes across. Managing system and managed system. Both the things also applicable manager agent side. Protocol operation is M get so on so get set limited create delete share. That is a very simple thing because it's what earlier established. MO addressing is going to be the MIT with OAD scooping and filtering with OAD at leaves of the tree. There is in fourth unit we will see how it will be established in this one. Then management applications, 5 application areas. They are not very specific about the application. This is 5 functional areas you have come across because you come to know performance, FI, FA, APS. It's going to be FCAP is going to be the one, but here it is not very specific. You can say it's a very blur or fuzzy thing to combine both. They combine one another functions and put it across that. They are not very well defined at the earlier stage. later version has been increased. They have tried to define these are for the function, these activities comes under these function. It's very theoretical way we can put it up along this thing. Then standard body is ITUT, ISO. It's a ETF is a body which is work on this. I will send it up all those questions in this one. This I would just want you to have a glimpse of what are the services available. You know YAM, you know you know C for that one. For the get, because earlier event service we have seen all this one. So it's a mandatory. It is going to use preferences. C is going to be the condition basis. All those things is for YAM get services. What invoke identifier, link identifier, base object class, scoop, filter, these things will be attached in this one. Some of things are very mandatory, some of things are user defined one, user can preference can put across. Some of things comes associated with the condition. If the condition has been satisfied, you have to put across all the services. Otherwise, you need not to put across. This is a request, this is a response in this one. Then YAM set services have some condition. There is no equal sign in this one. Remember a thing. Here that is an attribute identifier because you are getting some information through a synchronization, through a scope, through a filter, you are getting information. Then the current time attribute list you have to do. If there is an error, you can establish an error also, all those things. But when you come across a set the value, you are setting some values in this one. Again, you use filter, scope, and synchronization, and even modification list should be included because it says you are setting some value, how the modification has been happened, and what is the list. Then attribute current time errors will come across. Then this is an action. You are making some action on this one. You are creating some instance. Any action happens there. Then this is all those things the same up to this most of the time. What is an action type? What is an action information? If the condition has been satisfied, what is an action information? What is the current time? This thing. So most of the time you see the one or two things has been changed according to that one. Otherwise, you can put it across remaining one in a complete way. These all the things are most of the same. This is up to this is the same for everyone. This one up to this base object, base class. Here the manage object, manage class. Everything is same. But one or two thing is here that the attribute list has been put across. Here there's a modification list has been added. Here in this one action type and information has been added. This one the creators, you are creating a one current time. This is a reference object instance, superior object. That's another thing. You are not having a base or anything. Who is a above object class and what is a manage object class? Everything. Then YAMO instance, one of the thing when you create everything because you come to know what is a manage object instance is going to. So what is the access right you are putting across and everything comes in this way. Delete is one thing you are having. You don't have any of those things. Only thing is invoke identifier and link identifier comes across. What are the things because you are applying the scope, how many things you have deleted and you have sent back the acknowledgement if it is possible. So there is no work on this. I mean, you're just deleting the services. So it's a simple thing. You need not have any information regarding the delete object or delete instance of an object class. So here it says you make sure these things are correct in this one. Then cancel get invoke identifier because get is a one identifier we are sending it up across this one. If it is a response given back, then you should put it here in this one. And the error is going to be the conditional base. If an error is available, then you put it up because cancel could sometimes you cannot cancel a get operation. So that's it. You can. Then underlying services is invoke result error for this CMSA request response or remote object. That is underlying service provided by the rules. Receipt has been put across in this one. So the whole thing is telecommunicator management. Standard for the TNM service protocol definition information system management function. All those things you have seen in this one. Next class, next unit, it's really a very complex one, but you are not dealing it up in the same complex way. You are just learning it up. You are skimming the top layer of this network management, this telecommunication management. So need not worry about all these things. One highest thing you can put across the telecommunication management, you need a lot of manpower, hardware, and software resources to implement and maintain that thing. But you can get a very detailed report when you go for object-oriented map. That is a thing which we can say it up in this whole thing. So here I have put across this one. I'm sharing this one. Okay. Now we have completed the second unit. Okay, if you have any doubt, you ask me because you have learned it up in this through PPTs and videos only. You have learned whatever happens. I don't think you people would have selected any of the. You would have take notes or anything on this one. You were expecting the notes to be put across so that you can go through that. I will put it today itself because yesterday I couldn't able to do it due to my current fluctuation. That's I cannot able to switch on the AC, so it goes across the day. Today definitely now it seems to be the voltage has been stabilized here, so I can able to put across all those things for you. So go through that subject and try to understand it up in a little bit different way because your CMIs is a combination of everything. Rows is one thing and ACS is one thing and SMAS is going to be CMI. CMI and CMIs is they are very much a structure, right? Remember a thing, they are the structure which it says how you have to put across. Who is running that one? Who is it's like a road, it's like a van, it's like a driver, it's like a particles which has been put inside the transporting happening between. That is a simple thing. Destination source you put across everything there. It is little bit different from your network side. Network you are learning in the data link layer, so nothing to worry about all these things because data we are not seeing that lower level layer, so you need not bother about confusing both the things in the attestation manner. Only thing is you should clear is application layer. It's a very good thing. One of the very best one thing is we are not studying about the application layer. It never involves or interfere with this all those network management side. So application layer is a simple layer which is available for protocol. Any application will run across on this one. So it's a very lightweight. You can say that the protocol is not very much heavy one, or the layer is not a very heavy one, but it runs so many applications. It knows how to segregate one another application and runs it up. That is why application we are very fortunate. We never bother about the application layer activities here itself. If it is like a TCP and IP, definitely it interface with the services runs across in this. So here we are very really fortunate. The application layer is a very much dormant layer which never bothers whose application or how you should run the application or anything. So many protocols available to run on the application layer. So we are happy. That is, so what you are learning it up in the what you are going to learn it up is in the computer network is not going to very much affected in the network management side. It is not going to bother you. You need not worry about whether you are learn it up, whether you have learned the network or not. Basic things you should know about the network. That is a relevant information for you. So next unit is going to be covered up in the what do you say is remaining one is telecommunication one. So you need to telecommunication